Alright, this was probably the worst start the Thunder have had all year, and most of it stemmed from the Pacers' interior defense, because it put them in late clock situations, so they had to settle from deep. But they still missed some of their usual looks, and Lou smoking the bunny on the leakout should have been a sign of their type of quarter, because not even Shai could get going. All those misses generated some good pace for the Pacers, but I don't even think their offense was that much better, and somehow, they kept missing in the middle of the Thunder zone. At least they could find Tracy from the right corner, especially Mathurin, and more importantly, Pascal had his 3-ball going, because the Thunder had Hartenstein sag off him, so he made him pay. I assume it was to avoid Hartenstein having to guard Miles on the pop in that 2-man game, and it somewhat worked, because even though Pascal exploited that matchup throughout, the Pacers never pounded it inside whenever Miles had a small on him, so he was resorted to spot-up duty with no rhythm. Hallie was even more non-existent than him, but at least they had Nembhard show up as the primary ball handler, and he was getting to his spots with or without an SNR. His most crucial stretch was late in the second, because he kept the control on their side as Shai went on a ridiculous run, and he just kept getting downhill quick by countering all the Pacers' coverages. It didn't matter if the big was up in the SNR, if the low rotation was early, or if they tried to take away his driving angles, he was still getting to the rim, and that stretch single-handedly got the Thunder back into the game, because that was the momentum they needed to get their offense going. That's what carried over into the third for them to at least run it back, and what I liked about his second half was his patience, because the Pacers were shading his angles or going into zone, but he never forced it. He just used his gravity to create open looks for the others, or got off the rock to let Dub control the offense, and he picked his moments to score late in both quarters. That's not easy to do because he just had a 7-for-7 stretch. They were trailing at times, and Dub was struggling to finish inside, especially whenever Miles was at the rim. At least he punched on him a couple times, and on the other end, the Pacers were struggling just as bad, because they ran into severe turnover issues whenever they tried to drive, so they were fortunate their bench bailed them out late in the third to early in the fourth. TJ and Jarris Walker both made timely buckets that kept them in it during that stretch, but unfortunately, their starters couldn't do the same down the wire, and the Thunder's duo beat them in a game of buckets off an 11-2 run. The Pacers even tried the zone they were running throughout to avoid any SNRs, but that didn't matter, and Shai wasn't going to have a case of the free throw plague, so he converted on all his takes to finish with another 40-piece. Just watch the tape.
And a three by Gilgeous-Alexander.